Welcome back, Year 5 Osborne. Today we're going to be continuing our work in geometry. Yesterday we looked at types of lines and types of angles. Today we're going to zoom in a bit more on angles and think about how to measure them. Our learning intention is to be able to reasonably estimate the measurement of an angle when given options. So you won't be needing a protractor today because we're just estimating or guessing, making an educated guess, that is. And you're not just going to be guessing randomly. I will be giving you some choices. So let's take a look at how angles are measured and how we can make an educated guess or an estimate. First of all, it's important to know that angles are measured in degrees. A circle, or a complete turn, is 360 degrees. As you can see on your screen, at the top it says 0 degrees and 360 degrees. That's because it makes a full turn. If you go from facing that direction and spin all the way around in a circle, you're going to end up facing the same direction that you started. So you've made a 360 degree turn. Have you ever heard that before? Someone says you turn 360 degrees or you make a 360 flip. It's because you've gone all the way around. So there's a first fact to remember. A circle is 360 degrees. Now another important thing to remember is that you can split a circle into 4 equal parts, just like you see on the screen. When you split it into 4 equal parts, each part creates a right angle. Do you see how when you look at the center, you could fit a square perfectly into each of those quadrants? And by quadrants, I mean quarters of the circle. That's because they have formed 90 degrees, or a perfect corner. Next, if you split the circle in half, you'll have a straight line. So going straight down from the 0, if you take a vertical line down, you're going to see that it's perfectly straight, and that creates 180 degrees, which makes sense because when you look at it, if you tilt your head to the side a little bit, you'll see that two 90 degrees put together makes 180 degrees. 90 plus 90, 180. And we can actually see a couple straight lines through here. So to recap, angles are measured in degrees. A full turn, or a circle, is 360 degrees, so you can never go over 360 degrees. In a circle, you can split it into 4, and you'll end up with 4 sections that each make a right angle, because you can fit a perfect square in their corner. Or it looks kind of like an L. Finally, if you have a straight line, that's going to measure 180 degrees, because a straight line is just 2 right angles put back to back. So you might be wondering how we know the measurements of angles if they're not perfectly right angles or a perfectly straight angle. Well, we use a tool called a protractor. A future video is going to show you exactly how to use and read a protractor. But remember, today we're just estimating angles. So it's only important today that we understand that 360 degrees is a full turn, or a circle. 90 degrees is a right angle that creates that little square in the middle. And a straight angle is 180 degrees. So why are those facts so important to know? Well, because when you look at an angle, you can kind of get a rough idea of what it might measure. Because you know in your head right away, well, a right angle, like you see in the top of your screen, that's always going to be 90 degrees. So if I see an angle that is a perfect right angle, I can say right away, 90 degrees. And then you can think to yourself, if I see a straight angle or a perfectly straight line, I know that's 180 degrees. You can use these bits of information to then guess what an acute angle or an obtuse angle measures, because an acute angle is smaller than a right angle. That means it has to be less than 90 degrees. So if you see an angle and you don't know what it measures, but you know it's an acute angle, you know right away it's going to be less than 90. What about an obtuse angle? Well, that's larger than a right angle, so it has to be more than 90 degrees. So if you see an obtuse angle, you know right away, well, it can't be 45 degrees or 60 degrees or 30 degrees because it's bigger than a right angle, so it must be bigger than 90 degrees. Let's take a look at that in practice. Here it says, what might this angle measure? Well, I see the angle, and I can tell right away that it is an acute angle because it's smaller than a right angle. It's kind of cute. That's how I remember that acute angles are smaller. They're cute, they're tiny. So let me see my options. It's either 90 degrees, 70 degrees, or 125 degrees. Well, I already said it's smaller than a right angle, so it can't be 90 degrees because 90 degrees is a right angle, and that is definitely not a perfect right angle. I couldn't fit a square in the middle of it. If it's smaller than a right angle, then it couldn't be 125 degrees because that's more than a right angle, more than 90. That only leaves me with the option of it being 70 degrees. So I used my understanding of what a right angle looks like, that it's 90 degrees, to help me estimate what another angle might measure. I want you to apply that skill to these 6 questions. For each of them, you have 2 options for what the angle might measure. You need to look at the angle and think to yourself, is it smaller than a right angle or is it bigger than a right angle? If it's smaller, then it's acute, and that means it's going to be less than 90 degrees. If it's bigger than a right angle, then it's obtuse, which means it's going to be more than 90 degrees. Then you can quickly look at your 2 options and think to yourself, well, it can't be that one, and choose the other. This is a very quick exercise. I don't expect you to draw the angles into your book because you won't be able to draw them perfectly without a protractor. I simply want you to head up the page, write number 1, and then your answer, number 2, and then your answer, and so on. After you finish those 6 questions, you have a reflection. Write your response in full sentences. It says, Cynthia is trying to estimate the measurement of angle A, which is the angle you see at the bottom of the screen right now. She thinks it is about 100 degrees. What advice would you give her to help her reasonably estimate? Again, think about the trick of using the 90-degree right angle as a guideline. Is that angle more or less than a right angle? After you've written your advice, you can also write your estimate for what you think the angle measures. And finally, I want you for your independent work to go on to iExcel and focus on these 3 skills, Q10, Q11, and Q12. Q12 most directly relates to what we've been doing today because it's all about angles. However, Q10 and Q11 are very important in helping your understanding of angles. So I want you to try all 3 of those skills, and you're going to work on them today, tomorrow, the next day until you are proficient in them. All right, year 5, that's all for today. You have those 6 questions, the reflection, and some iExcel work. When you're done, take a picture of the 6 questions and the reflection and send those to me. I'll obviously get your iExcel work online. All right, stay safe and I'll see you soon.